You had me fooled back then. Yeah, but now I see the proof. You're only out for yourself. You're out to make your own truth. I'm on to you. I see the malice in your eyes. Your followers still grovel at your feet, believing every fucking lie. Wipe that smile.
Hello, welcome to another episode of Bones and Tubbs. I am Tubbs, and today, unfortunately, Bones has some personal family stuff going on, so he won't be with me today. Instead, I have with me, as his stand-in, not a doctor, Doug Herty. And he will be with us today on this episode of Bones and Tubbs.
Hello, everybody.
I mean, you all remember Dr. Doug Herty, the...
Doctor, not a doctor.
The doctor, not a doctor, the foremost expert on possums and opossum research. Today, we got a whole bunch of topics that were sent to us by a whole bunch of new contributors, actually. I'm kind of excited about the fact we got a whole bunch of new people. Nothing against the people that have sent us in the past, but it's always good to have some fresh blood. Before we get started on the topics, though, I figured we'd talk about current events for a little bit. What's been going on in the news, Dr. Doug Herty, not a doctor?
It's come out on InfoWars. I don't know if you guys listen to InfoWars or if you actually believe it or not. I don't know how I feel about it. But allegedly, they came out yesterday, and supposedly they have all these documents from alleged leak insiders that work for like the CIA and FBI that supposedly leak information to Alex Jones. But anyway, they claim that they have documentation of Trump being surveilled, and they also have documentation of Alex Jones being surveilled. Not only Trump, but like Trump and like all his family members with like special interest in his daughter for some reason.
I can see why.
Yeah. Fucking creeps.
They've got a fucking CCTV camera in her toilet. I wonder why they needed that. Fucking
They
weirdos.
claim that like they have like cell phone numbers, like personal cell phone numbers and all kinds of stuff. So I don't know whether you want to believe it or not.
It's hard to believe anything anymore. There's so much... I think that's the point, is there's so much information coming from all angles.
That none of this is real.
Yeah, you kind of have to... They make you want to force you to latch onto one of those voices and just listen to that, right?
Right, and if you like question one side or the other side, then you're crazy.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing.
Or you're fighting for the left, or you're fighting for the right.
Yeah, I was talking to Bones about it the other day, and I have friends all over the spectrum on my social media accounts, right? And I said, I was just so tired of both sides and their bickering and their name calling and all that. And I said, it almost makes me just want to shut it all down, get rid of those voices, and just stick to the people who stick to my political ideologies. But I was like, wait a minute.
You can't do that.
I was like, I can't do that. I would literally be putting myself inside of a bubble.
But not only that, it's all around you, so it's impossible to just listen to one side, and that side being your side, because like everywhere you look, you hear like something contradicting.
Like, as we were talking about before the show, I said this is a mad, flipped over world when libertarians are the voices of reason now, the ones who cry out for moderation, right? Like, cry out, like, what's so wrong with being moderate anymore?
I had a professor tell me the other day that the libertarian system will never work.
Yeah, you'll hear that a lot.
And her reasoning was because of college.
Okay, well, did she elaborate on that?
No, just because she has nothing to elaborate on.
Does she not fail to realize that we once kind of lived in a more libertarian world, and there was in fact infrastructure and colleges in those times?
I don't think she understands it.
Like I try to explain that to a couple people who have mocked me for my libertarianism before. Like, one person in particular always likes to deadpan the same stupid ass joke every time. And that's, how does a libertarian put out his fire, with his neighbor's hose? Because apparently libertarians don't believe in infrastructure whatsoever. Shut up, stupid. Before an income tax, we had infrastructure. Don't kid yourself. You've just been fully sold on this system that is failing us dramatically.
I brought up the Invisible Hand Tour. Who's the guy that wrote the Invisible Hand? The Invisible Hand Tour by Adam Smith, which is the concept that if there's no government, that someone within society, if society wants it, then someone will provide that. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So, like, people need roads. Then there's somebody in society that's going to be like, hey, I think it's a good idea that we have roads, and people are going to want to contribute to that. It's just going to happen regardless if there's government or not, right? And she just, totally, tried to shoot it down. It's not going to happen. So, basically, the ideology is that these, leftist people have is that the government needs to control everything.
So, okay, what is she a professor of? Just to clarify.
Anthropology.
Okay, so see, more or less, I'm going to come up with a new term right now. And you know what? I'm going to come up with 2 terms. Scratch that. I'm going to come up with Libsplain and Consplain. Okay? Libsplain is when anybody out there wondering, is when a liberal tries to explain away logic that you've clearly given them. And Consplain is when a conservative tries to do the exact same thing. So she basically Libsplained.
Right. I mean, the invisible hand has basically been like working in our society for, I would say, as long as like the industrial society has been around until we started like the whole socialism thing back in the early 1900s, like started like catching.
Yeah.
It's been working all this time, and now like all of a sudden, like, well, that couldn't work. It would never work. Well, it has worked.
Yeah, it's been working. You just didn't
I
notice.
do agree that there does need to be like some taxes involved, but like not for everything.
No. Or like go back to my notion that there should be no income taxes, only sales taxes.
Right, exactly.
Because that to me is the perfect example of freedom of choice.
That's like the fair tax.
Yeah, more or less. And I tried to explain to because I had a liberal try to libsplain me on this and say that that wouldn't work. And I said, well, there was a time when the government didn't take your income tax. They relied solely on sales taxes and it worked just fine. And I said that, and plus, I said, you being a liberal, you have to be all about equity. I was like, in theory, I was like, any economist is going to tell you that rich people spend more money than poor people. If you relied solely on a sales tax, rich people would finally pay their fair share of taxes.
It's true.
Because they spend more money. They spend more money than poor people. And he didn't like that. He's like, all he could say that was like, no, don't just try to gnaw it away. I'm right, and you don't want to admit that. It's also like when I was talking to him, we were talking about the reasons Hillary Clinton lost the election, and my firm full belief is that she was lazy. Like she thought that, you know,
she thought she already had the cat in the bag.
She thought she had the blue wall of Midwestern states, and she was wrong. And I told him that, and his main reason, he thinks the number one reason for her loss is the Russians. And I said no.
That's silly.
I said if we're going to be completely blunt and honest here, I said number one reason is laziness because she's rested on her laurels and thought she had it in the bag. I said 2 was probably the FBI investigation, probably didn't help matters. And then 3 is Russian propaganda. I was like, because here's the thing. They keep talking about how the Russians interfered with the election. That is a loaded statement because it negates the fact that it makes it sound like they literally like went in and hacked our voting machines, which they didn't do.
No.
They merely sent propaganda that people believe. So, I mean, take with it what you want. I'm not buying it, though. And the thing is, like, and I'm just making the general call for moderation out there to everybody, liberals and conservatives alike. There's nothing wrong with moderation. There's nothing wrong with compromise. Like, the best things about our society have come from compromise. The understanding that, yes, abortion is legal, but your conservative tax dollars don't pay for it.
Right.
That's compromise. You don't have to like it, but you don't have to pay for it either.
Exactly.
But it's still going to happen. And I think we've lost it. And I blame the media, really. They have polarized things so much.
On both sides, too. I mean,
that it's almost made it impossible to find common ground.
Whether you're listening to, like, the mainstream CNN, MSNBC, or you're listening to, like, something like
Fox
InfoWars
News
or Fox
or
News or Drudge, everybody is extremely polarized.
Yeah.
And you can't really get a good sense of what's going on without looking at everything as a whole. If you're just looking at one thing, then you're only going to get news from one side.
I told that liberal friend of mine, I said, what you need to find now, I was like, because let's put it this way. Obama created a vacuum, a talent vacuum, in his 8 years in office. He was the most talented person in his party for 8 years, and it stayed that way. There was no rising stars. There's no rising stars now. Everybody that's like an all-star of the left are all old. There's no young talent right now, right?
Right.
I said, you need to find a young, moderate Democrat who hasn't dabbled in big industry, Wall Street, or big pharma. None of those. Who legitimately cares about people. Basically, you need a new JFK.
Well, what I've heard here recently is that being conservative is like being how like liberalism, I guess. Well, liberalism is fine, but how being like extremely like left wing became popular because like we were so conservative and like young people were basically like, oh, I want to think outside the box. I don't want to listen to what the mainstream's telling me.
Yeah.
And so then popped up like this like hardcore left wing people. But then they've been in control for so long that now all these young people who are coming up that are like 16, 17, 18, 21, whatever, all they've lived under this in their entire lives is like this like extremely like left wing government.
Yeah.
And now they see that as like the mainstream, and so they want to think outside the box. So now a lot of them are starting to think more conservatively. So I don't know if it's possible. I mean, I'm sure it's possible to find someone who you're speaking of, but I would say most people are starting to like, maybe not necessarily like super conservative, but they're starting to look more to the right side.
Well, the thing is, like, the right, it's having the right is having just as much of an identity crisis as the left is, right?
I mean, that's why we got Donald Trump elected.
Exactly. Like, the right doesn't even know what it is anymore. Like, you've got the worst, and I'll totally agree with people. There are some of the worst elements of the right wing that are now part of the mainstream that necessarily shouldn't be. And there's another thing, libs, don't get it twisted. Don't think that Russians are only coming after conservatives. The whole secessionist movement in California is being funded by Russians right now. The Russians have one thing and one thing only in mind, and that's to break up Western power in non-aggressive means. They want to break us up because the snake is less powerful broken up than together.
It's as if we're watching two world powers fight.
Like, and to an extent, for a while, I'll agree. I was kind of on what Russia was about, and that's the end of globalization. Because it's not working.
Well,
right?
It's the end of globalization, the opposite side.
But
they still want globalization. They just want to be in control of it.
Yeah, exactly. That, and they want the extreme, like, 19th century version of nationalism, right? They want, like, all these powers butted up against each other again. They want that old Europe back instead of a cooperative Europe.
Right.
Here's the thing. I have no problem with Europe cooperating with each other and being allies with each other. To an extent, like, think about it. Winston Churchill is basically the father of the EU. I think the EU just went too far. It should have remained a loose confederation to make sure that, to keep everybody in check so that shit like the fucking Holocaust and World War II never happened again.
Well, it's also like whenever like the Warsaw Pact broke up, or even like whenever we started drawing out country lines, like you taking cultures and people and saying, all right, everybody on this side of the line is one thing and everybody on this side of the line is another thing. Yeah. And it just creates problems. I mean, like India, like when they drew out India and they had all those issues between like Hindus and Muslims, for a long time those people lived like hand in hand. Yeah. Like they lived with each other. But then when they drew out the country lines, and they're like, all right, well, this is India now. Mm-hmm. And everybody on this side is India, and everybody on this side is Pakistan. Well, like, the national religion for, like, Pakistan became Islam, and the national religion for India pretty much became Hindi. So now you have all these people on, like, one side of the border who are Hindi, who are, like, forced to become Islam, and all these people on the other side of the border who are Muslim, who are forced to become Hindi. And it just creates issues.
Yeah.
So I don't really know. I'm like kind of like I don't have to think about the whole thing.
Here's the thing, like I'm not buying Russia's brand of what they want. They want insurrection, right? They want chaos because they thrived in chaos, like, or at least like they can't have what they had. They don't have the Eastern Bloc anymore. They want the Eastern Bloc back. They want that kind of control, but they're not going to get that again unless they go through aggressive means. So the only thing they could do now is sow chaos amongst the rest of Western Europe and America, for that matter.
And at the same time, though, like the Europeans have had control of that for so long that they're not willing to give it up either.
I think they took it for granted.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, here's the thing: like, at the end of the day, no matter how much Russian propaganda got pumped out there, the people spoke. They didn't want England to be part of the EU anymore. They wanted Donald Trump to be president. You know,
right?
And we're starting to see that play out. Like, your extreme version put a bad taste, no pun intended, in the collective mouths of people all across the West, and they don't like it. They don't like it. It's a strong reaction.
I'll put a bad taste in your mouth.
Yeah, for real. That's what happened. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. They fucked us. They fucked us hard, and we ain't keen on it anymore. Like, I was reading an article yesterday that basically talked about how they believe the ideologies of Western liberalism are in its death rattle. That it's gonna fail, and we're gonna revert to more chaotic times.
Well, we are kind of reverting to more chaotic times already. It's kind of crazy.
I don't want to see it. I really don't. I mean, not in our lifetime. We shouldn't have to see anything that happened in the past like it did. But I think it's going to have to... I think it goes from that old adage, what is it? Bad times create great men. Great men create good times. Good times create weak men. Weak men create bad times.
I went to this seminar the other day, and this guy was talking about, it was called The Eclipse of the Sacred Human. And this guy, I think he might be like, he's a sociologist, but he does a lot of like sociology and religion, like comparative religion type stuff.
Yeah.
And what he was talking about was like, basically there's like three types of like ideas. So you have like this theological view, which is like religion.
Yeah.
Then you have like a biological view, which is like science. And then you have like this psychological, or
Psychological.
yeah, psychological view. And so he was like comparing them all. He compared them all with that old term imago Dei, the image of God.
Yeah, yeah.
And so he's like talking about things like genetics in humans, but he brought up the whole imago Dei thing, like the image of God, because like even though like people in like the biological world might not like view like there is like a creator, they still are they still have that imago Dei mindset.
They still, even if they don't believe in God, they still marvel at the notion of life itself.
Yeah.
Like they still are. It's like you said, imago Dei. They're beholden to something they even have to admit is grand.
It's kind of like how if you look at like the differences between like Christians and like Islam, Christians see like imago Dei, like, oh, God was created in our image, and the same thing with Islam, God was created in our image, or we were created in God's image. Like we look at them, or not we, but they look at each other as if they're like they're subhuman.
Yeah,
because like they weren't created in the same image that I was created. So
Yeah.
it makes them subhuman.
Okay.
And it's kind of the same way that these other sides are looking at the theological side.
Yeah.
Like, well, they believe in this, so I can't really like see them as being like the same type of human as I am, making them like subhuman in a way.
It's kind of just another form of tribalism.
I think it's tribalism,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
But that's what's really going on in the world right now. Everybody has this like view of what it means to be like in power or human.
Yeah.
And we're just basically fighting about it.
All right then. Well, I think it's time we probably settled into the topics this week because we got a bunch, and we're gonna see where they go. First topic of today comes to us from, as he loved it to be called, Benny Hanna. And Benny Hanna asked, well, he said, talk about aquaponics. Apparently, him and a friend of his have a little aquaponics setup in the friend's establishment, and he wanted us to dabble and see what it's all about, just to give some information out to you guys. For those of you out there that don't know what aquaponics is, it's a symbiotic environment where you have basically a fish tank that's connected to plants in a hydroponic system, right? And the waste from the fish through the process of
The
bacteria.
nitrogen cycle.
What's that?
The nitrogen cycle.
Yeah, they create waste. Bacteria breaks it down, and the plants eat it. It creates a life cycle, more or less.
It's like a closed system.
And it's interesting. I looked into it and saw that this isn't just a modern thing. Like we've been doing this for thousands of years. The Chinese and the Aztecs were doing it. Flotillas of plants on rice paddies and whatnot. Rice paddy flotillas in China, and they would have fish in like ponds or whatever. Well, I mean, it's a really cool system. I mean, I'd like to see more of it. I mean, it's a complete ecosystem in itself. So
Interesting. I guess it's kind of off topic, but they grow rice in all these like rice paddies with all this water.
yeah,
So the rice itself doesn't need all that water, but it can tolerate it.
yeah.
The reason they grow it in the water is because it keeps the pests away that like to eat the rice.
Huh. That's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That makes sense. See, the Chinese and Asians, they've been doing that shit for a long time. They know what they're doing.
Yeah.
They know exactly what they're doing.
So I looked up this aquaponics thing, and a lot of people, I guess you can do it like at home, like on a small scale, where you basically just have like a fish tank.
Yeah.
You have your fish floating around in there, and you can have some plants floating on top, like like hydroponics, where you have like something floating, and you have like your plants in like these little mesh containers, so they're not like completely submerged, only the roots are. But I watched this video where this place down in North Carolina are doing it on like a huge scale. They're trying to do it on like the industrial scale.
Yeah, as I say, I saw pictures of a couple that looked like they were industrial-sized aquaponics.
Yeah, so this guy's
operations.
making like they're growing a bunch of lettuce and herbs like cilantro, basil, stuff like that. They also do tomatoes, but they're kind of like off of the system a little bit. They still use the same water, but they're not like floating. But they have like these big ass tanks of fish.
What kind of fish do they use?
They're using tilapia.
I figured as much.
Yeah, because tilapia grow really fast.
Yeah.
And they get pretty big size. So what they're doing is they have these separate tanks because they don't want the water to get contaminated with like feces.
Yeah.
So,
Cross-contamination is an issue.
It's not good. Yeah. So they have these big tanks of fish, and they're constantly like pushing like water and air into these fish tanks to like keep it oxygenated.
Yeah.
Right. And as the fish eat, they produce a bunch of waste. All of the uneaten food and all of the waste that the fish produce, it all gets like the water is being constantly like filtered out.
Yeah.
So they're constantly putting fresh water in, and all like the uneaten food, all the waste is like being filtered out, and they're moving this waste to like another bin where they have this like bacteria growing.
Yeah.
So plants need nitrogen to grow.
Yeah.
A lot of nitrogen.
Mm-hmm.
Like 79% of our air is nitrogen.
Mm-hmm.
But that nitrogen is unobtainable for plants. it has to be like
They get it from the soil.
right. It has to be in the form of like nitrates.
Yeah.
Which is why like farmers put ammonium
Yeah.
under fields. So the bacteria breaks down this waste and creates nitrates, and then now they have this like nitrogen-rich water
Yeah.
that, with the form of nitrogen of the plants, are able to like obtain.
And then pump it.
And then they pump it into these huge vats that they have like these like floating surfaces on.
Yeah.
They're like made of foam, and they have like all these little like holes with nets and little rocks in them to keep the plants stable. And it's just they're constantly being fed like all these nutrients. So like the plants are growing like stuff that they can usually grow in like 4 or 5 months. They're like getting in like 6 weeks.
Nice.
And the guy said that they only lose, I think he said they only lose 0.5% of their water. So it's an entire closed system, and all the water that they put in, they get 99.5% of the water back out.
So there's very little waste.
So there's no waste in the entire system. And all the waste, all the plant waste, like at the end of the day, they just throw that into these bins with all like the waste from like the fish, uneaten food, and like the waste that the fish produce, and they let the bacteria break that down again to turn that back into nitrogen and nutrients that the plants can use, and it's just a constant closed system. And so there's like no waste.
Sounds like the future. It sounds like the future knocking.
Yeah, it's pretty cool
I mean,
stuff.
Something we've been doing for a long time, but I think we've
been doing it on like maybe smaller scales,
but in that we've honed the system down.
But now they're talking about
system.
Yeah, they're talking about using this like on like an industrial scale to like
I think I've also
create lots of food really fast.
I've heard of this on what they would do when it comes to space and using it to help colonize other parts of space, because you have these closed systems.
Yeah,
that are more manageable to harbor our existence, and I think that's cool as fuck. Like, if there's one thing I'm a total proponent of, if anybody's against it, they could eat a big fat dick. That's colonizing other planets. I am so on fucking board with that shit.
It's Manifest Destiny, man.
It is. Like, it's the new Manifest Destiny. I don't want to kill any natives in the process, but
right.
Fuck. I'm ready to get the fuck out. I want our species to propagate, because, I mean, at the end of the day, there is ultimately an expiration date on this rock we're on. It's gonna end, I mean, in a long time from now, but it's gonna fucking end.
You know, the sad part is, though, like, we have, like, all this, like, technology and knowledge. If we could just use that to, like, make the world a better place without war, then we would be living in, like, the Jetsons age right now.
Well, I was thinking that, like, Star Trek.
Yeah, Star Trek, definitely.
Where Star Trek, they've come into an age where money is not an issue. They don't use money anymore.
Because, let's get real, I mean, this sounds like a great idea and a great plan. It would probably most definitely work if we put, like, money into it, but it's not going to catch on until something catastrophic happens.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's going to be just like penicillin.
What is it?
Everybody joked that penicillin like was like not going to work. You're stupid. It's dumb. Well, then like World War II happened, and we have all these people like dying, and they're like, oh yeah, this guy like did this research a few years ago. Like maybe we should check his stuff out.
Necessity is the mother of invention.
Exactly.
So we just haven't gotten to that place, but I think aquaponics is part of our future. At least I hope it is. But thanks for the topic, Betty Hanna. I like that one a lot. Next topic comes from, he wanted to be called Elmo. Elmo asks us, whatever happened to Richard Simmons? Now, he asked this because here recently, I'd say in the last few months, Richard Simmons, like, disappeared. Like, I was looking into it, and apparently the last time he was seen in public was February of 2014. So now we're looking at 3 years gone. Now, he's not gone. We all know he's at his house, right?
I hope that he's wearing, like, one of those, like, yoga suits.
Yeah.
That he would, like, wear on PBS.
I mean, like, here's the thing. I always love Richard Simmons.
That looked like a human body or something.
Because that dude was a positive, like, I feel like we need Richard Simmons now. He was just an absolute ray of positive energy all the time. He was all about helping people, and he was a good guy. He was flamboyant, but that's okay. He was him, and I'm fine with him being flamboyant because he was a good guy. But I mean, it's gotten to the point now where there's a whole podcast dedicated to Richard Simmons being missing. I guess like a lot of it has to do with the fact that he's like his social media accounts are still up, but he just posts pictures from like old pictures and tries to make it look like they're new pictures.
Gotcha.
But they're not. So it's kind of suspect, and people have tried to point to his housekeeper. They think she's more or less holding him captive. Well, yeah, I mean, it's all really strange.
Why?
I don't know, because here's the thing.
Why is that a theory?
Because elder abuse is an issue.
How old is he though?
Okay, so we looked it up, and Richard Simmons is 68 years old, so he does in fact qualify as a senior. So,
yeah, but I mean, 68, and he's like a really super healthy guy.
Yeah,
I don't see him like...
He mentioned that...
Unless he's lost his mind.
The reason he's not in the public is because he can't do his workouts anymore because his knees hurt too bad. So what if he's gotten like super fat again?
I doubt it.
Because he was fat back in the day.
And he lost all the weight.
He lost all the weight, and he's been a shining beacon of hope for the rest of the world for a long time. I mean, I love Richard Simmons. He was always a treat. Like, I remember staying up and watching David Letterman and shit like that. He'd come on the show, just fucking crazy as shit. Wearing his fucking bedazzled tank tops and shit. And he was just, he was always a cool dude. I can't see people who would hate Richard Simmons just because he was like, he was too positive to hate.
So there's this podcast that I found. It's called Missing Richard Simmons.
Yeah.
There's like 5 or 6 of them. Mm-hmm. And they're like an hour long a piece. I haven't listened to any of them.
No, I didn't. I saw that they had a podcast last night, and I was like,
I want to listen to them.
I want to listen, but I'm like, do I really want to listen to an entire, multiple episodes?
5 hours
of
like Richard Simmons missing.
So, another theory that I saw posed out there of what is possibly going on is that he's transitioning
into, like, a woman?
Yeah. But he even claimed that's fake. He said he's not transitioning. But he also, here's the thing, he's so fucking awesome. You know what he said when people said that to him? You know what he said? He said it in a phone interview, right? He's like, I'm not transitioning, but God bless all those people that are. He's like, but that's just not me.
Right.
Like, he's cool as fuck. I'm sorry. But apparently the cops, recently made a welfare check on him. And the cop said he's fine.
So they just made a welfare check on him because there was, like, a huge inquiry about where he's at?
Exactly.
Or what?
Yeah. There was enough of a public outcry to be like, where the fuck is Richard Simmons? That the cops were like, okay, we'll go check. And they went and checked on him, and they said he's fine. Now, at this point, if there's some sort of conspiracy about Richard Simmons, it not only includes his housekeeper, but also includes the LAPD. Now, that's not to say the LAPD hasn't been caught up in some conspiracy theories before, but something tells me that the more people you get involved in a conspiracy, the less likelihood that somebody's not going to find out the truth. So the cops went and checked on him, and he was fine. So I think more or less, a lot of people think he just is done, or semi-retired. He doesn't want to be part of the public anymore. Like, I mean, think about it. He's been part of, like, in the public view for, like, fucking, 30 years? Something like that?
For real.
I mean, maybe he just got tired of it. Maybe he got tired of the new age. Like, maybe he didn't want to be like some celebrities who, like, literally you watch them fucking geezify in front of your eyes and watch them wither away to nothing. Look at Dick Clark, for fuck's sake.
And then they turn into, like, some cynical, crazy person.
We had to watch Dick Clark, like, fucking try to do the New Year's Eve bash after a stroke. Yeah. That was depressing as fuck. I'm sorry. I mean, I hate, that sounds like a dick thing to say, but I don't want to see the public watch me wither away to nothing. That's a private thing. And maybe Richard Simmons just wants to
maybe he just wants to die with honor and not, like, be some withered old man.
Yeah, still, like, wearing a tank top and shit. Like,
right, you know he is, too.
Oh, you know he is. I mean, I don't think you can't get away from that.
No.
I mean, that's just the way he dresses. For real. Tank top, short shorts.
It'd be like if Bob Ross got rid of the fro before he died. Like,
I don't think he's going to get rid of the fro. Imagine if you saw him as bald, I'd freak out. See, that's the thing. Like, you don't want to see none of that. You don't want to see fucking Richard Simmons bald. You want to see him with a big, healthy afro.
Yeah.
So, as far as I'm concerned, in my eyes, Richard Simmons is fine. He's just trying to chill the fuck out. He got tired of it all. And I don't blame him. In this day and age, it's got to be... show business has to fatigue you as it is, let alone in this era where, like, you have Tim Allen went on a talk show last night and fucking said that...
he said that being in Hollywood now is like being in Nazi Germany in the 30s.
Yeah, he said being a conservative in Hollywood, he said you have to keep your opinions to yourself because you will get the shit kicked out of you or get ostracized.
Right.
So, there's that. But anyways, so...
it sounds like we have some breaking news.
Breaking news here on Bones and fucking Tubs. David Rockefeller's fucking dead. Holy shit. This actually just came in breaking from Bones via, I think he's probably on his way to work right now, that old fucker is finally dead. Hallelujah. At 101 years old. Couldn't come any fucking sooner. Holy shit. Just for FYI, David Rockefeller and his family are the biggest pieces of shit on the planet who want to try to subdue us and kill us all. Just for your information. And they were also like one of the majority shareholders of Chase Manhattan Bank. May he rot in hell. May he rot in a special shitty hell. That's all I have to say about that.
I wonder what they're going to do now.
Still keep doing what they're doing. They're cocksuckers.
I mean, I guess they still have family.
Yeah, they're still Rockefeller. Fortunately, they breed still. But we wanted to throw that in for posterity's sake. Okay, so next topic comes to us from our venerated, canonized St. Catherine of College Corner. And St. Catherine sent us, who's the most inherently evil serial killer? Let me tell you, doing the research on this topic, it was hard.
I had nightmares.
It was hard because like to find one who's inherently evil that just like imbues what we and collectively consider evil was hard to find. Now, I don't know about you, but I came up with 2 people, and I couldn't figure out which one's worse. I think I came out with a number 1, but my 2 candidates that I throw in the ring are Albert Fish and Ted Bundy.
Tell us a little bit about Albert Fish.
Okay, Albert Fish, he lived at the turn of the century in America. And, he had a rough childhood. He was in and out of orphanages. His mother and father really weren't there for him. But he got married and everything, but he was in a lot of stuff. Let's just put it this way. He is one of my contenders simply because he is such a fucking freak. He was into Europhilia, corporophilia, all the philias you can imagine, he was into it. And he was a cannibal. And he killed children. Like, this dude, like, not only that, but it was reading the descriptions that he wrote about how he did it and how he ate them that almost cemented for me him being the worst. Now, he only has like 5 or 6 confirmed kills under his belt. So he doesn't have that high record, right? But they're kids. And that's what fucks it up for me the worst. And the fact that he ate them. And the fact that the way he did it. Like, here's the thing. The descriptions are what will fucking set you off. It just, like, it sends you right over the edge the way he did things. Like, I wouldn't even bring up one of these descriptions on the show. It's too fucked. Because he's talking about children. But my other contender is Ted Bundy. And that's because, one, Ted Bundy is basically, he's the litmus test for all other modern serial killers. Like, if you're going to put a serial killer and figure out how devious and bad they are, you put them up against Ted Bundy.
And not only that, a lot of times, what they would do, like investigators, FBI, whatever, if they had a serial killer, they would call or get, like, Ted Bundy on the case, and they'd be like, all right, this is what we got. Tell us what you think.
Exactly.
Like, they used him for, like, investigations.
Basically like Hannibal Lecter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he was, like, that crazy that they knew that with his help that he would be able to help them find, like, a serial killer, possibly.
Plus, like, he escaped from jail, like, twice. And here's the thing, like, okay, you escaped from jail, it's whatever. But you figured, okay, you escaped from jail, he went in quiet and just tried to live a secluded life. No, he kept killing.
That's what most of them do. I looked up this guy, I found this guy named Gary Ridgway. He was better known as the Green River Killer in Washington State. I guess it was throughout the 80s and 90s. He killed 49 people. He didn't mess around.
Yeah.
It was mostly women. But he had like, he lived a double life. I mean, I guess maybe a lot of them do.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Where he's like going to church and being a good father, and then he just has to fulfill that need to kill.
Yeah. And the families have no idea.
No idea.
Like, a lot of people who knew Ted Bundy, they knew him as a regular. They're like, oh, yeah, he was a nice guy. He was a good guy, you know?
I think the most messed up part about this guy is they didn't catch him until, like, 2001. And that's what, like, I think is the scariest part is that there's still people out there. Like, we talk about, like, Ted Bundy or Ed Gein, the
clown man.
The Texas Chainsaw Massacre guy. Yeah. What's the clown guy?
Ed Gacy.
Yeah. The guy that dressed up as clowns and, like, lured kids in and killed them. Like, that shit happened, like, decades ago. Yeah. And you can just write that off as like, man, that's wild. But then, like, you look at people like this guy who, like, didn't get caught until, like, 2001, like, in our lifetime.
It's like BTK.
BTK,
for years. Or, like, you could even take it one step further. Think about the ones that never did get caught. They're probably dead now, but, like, Zodiac. They never caught Zodiac.
Ted Cruz?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Zodiac just became Ted Cruz. If anybody was interested, just look it up. Because Ted Cruz is definitely the Zodiac killer. But no, it's creepy as fuck, man. Like, and as like I was telling him, I was like, there's a lot of stereotypes about serial killers. Like, one, that they're like fucking super smart, but like in all reality, they're not. They're fucking usually they're below average IQ. Like, some of them are so dumb they couldn't even be put to death because their IQ was so low. Like, it's not about being intelligent. It's about, like he said, being tricky and being able to manipulate. Like, that requires almost little to no intelligence to actually just be a sociopath. Like, because to be able to just fully and firmly commit to tricking people all the time and deceiving them, like Ted Bundy. He if you ever seen that classic scene in Buffalo Bill where he lures that woman into his car, where he's got a broken arm, he's trying to move that couch. Okay, that was Ted Bundy's maneuver. That was how he did it. He would fucking have a sling on his arm, and he would act like he was trying to carry something, and then some unsuspecting woman would see it, and she would go to help him, and then as soon as he got to the car, he'd subdue them.
Yeah, wasn't Buffalo Bill like he was? They stripped him off of like a mixture of Ted Bundy
and he had to be like Ted Bundy and Ed Gein
with the whole making masks out of human skin.
Yeah, like
lampshades out of human faces.
The reason I don't include Ed Gein is in my top 2 is because
he only killed a few.
Exactly, yeah.
And he was mostly just a weirdo that dug up dead bodies.
He dug up dead bodies, like, and did things with them. So he's definitely gross and nasty. Not as deadly as like Ted Bundy or the Green River Killer or BTK.
He was mostly people that were already dead.
Exactly. He was just doing his thing.
Doing his thing.
Doing his weird ass thing.
Being a weirdo.
It's like Alfred Hitchcock said when he was making Psycho, because the book Psycho is actually based off Ed Gein, but he said if you made a movie solely based off Ed Gein, it would be like an Elmer Fudd serial killer movie. He's like, it wouldn't be you would lose interest because Ed Gein was basically a fucking hillbilly.
That was really not that smart.
That had no sophistication to him whatsoever. But, I mean, and that's how most of them are. Like, and I mean, Ted Bundy, I guess, is one of the exceptions to the rule because he came off as extremely charismatic to his victims. And to most people, he was handsome. He seemed like he was well read, even though he was kind of an idiot too. But he came off as smart, and he would take his victims out into secluded wooded areas, and he'd kill them, and then he would defile them multiple times, and he'd come back to the bodies and defile the corpses over and over again until defiling them was no longer an option. And he cut off the heads, at least 12 of them, and kept their heads as mementos. Like, see, I think that's the dirtier side of Ted Bundy that most people don't realize is this fucker was keeping people's heads. Like, Jeffrey Dahmer was on that next level shit too. But I think Jeffrey Dahmer was, another reason I don't include him on my list is because I think he literally was a sociopath, but I think he was crazy Looney Tunes though too. Like, kind of like Son of Sam. Son of Sam was a fucking lunatic. He thought a dog was God, and the dog was talking to him.
Isn't there like a guy from Ohio that killed a bunch of people? He was a doctor or something. Don Harvey? You know about Don Harvey? I mean, could you consider him a serial killer?
How many people did he kill?
He killed 87 that they know of.
Oh, well, yeah, fuck yeah.
They called him the Angel of Death.
Okay, yeah. Okay,
he was from Hamilton, actually, I think.
Okay.
He's still alive. He's locked up somewhere.
Yeah, there was actually
87. But, I mean, he wasn't like, he killed people. But he wasn't like cutting their body parts up and sticking them onto the floorboards or making human smoothies out of them. He just killed them.
Yeah. Did he have a pattern?
Not that I know of.
See, the ones that go the longest are the ones that
don't really have a pattern.
They don't rely on the pattern. They kill across all spectrums.
Right.
But, I mean, even the ones that have a pattern, like think how long it took for them to find the DC snipers. Like,
because they didn't use a pattern.
Not only did they not use a pattern, the FBI completely profiled them wrong.
Right.
They profiled them as one being in a van and two being possibly a white male. And
really, they were in the trunk of like an old beater car.
Yeah, they were in the trunk
of the whole cut out of it.
Yeah, they were in the trunk of an old beater car, and they were an older black male and a younger black male.
Yeah, 2
people. Okay, sometimes they just don't get it right. That's the thing. Like, and that can cost lives. But nah. Actually, there was his name was Louis Lent, and he was from North Adams, Massachusetts, where I used to live. And this dude, I remember him sitting in fucking Burger King drinking coffee. When we go in there, he used to do it every day. He'd go in there, get a coffee, and sit there at a booth and read the newspaper.
Look at children.
Yeah, and fucking, he was a serial killer, and he he's in prison now, but he was interested in young girls, like, well, let's say teenage girls, and he'd kill them and bury their bodies in the woods. He actually got time. He negotiated time off his sentence, even though he had life on parole, and amenities for helping them find the bodies. Because he would, like, show them where they're at.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
So, are there, like, any active serial killers right now that you know of?
Oh, I'm sure there are. I'm sure they're amongst us.
There's got to be something going on out there right now. We just don't know yet because maybe they've been researching serial killers and they know that they shouldn't keep a pattern.
Maybe like
I think a lot of times a lot of people get caught these days because of technology, like DNA testing, so it's easier to catch people faster.
I think the modern we're gonna see unfortunately we're probably gonna see a new phase in serial killer, and I think it's gonna involve more random patterns. Because they're not going to want to... Because the thing is, like you said, with technology, patterns are going to make what's going to make or break a case.
Right. According to John Douglas of the FBI's Special Elite Crime Unit, he said that there's 25 to 50 active serial killers at any point in time.
That's fucking crazy. And they could be amongst us right now. We don't even fucking know it.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, they can go long periods of time between kills.
Yeah.
Fuck, BTK went like fucking a decade without a kill.
Yeah, so did that John Woodward guy. He would go, like, he killed a bunch of people, and then he stopped, got married, and then he carved something into his locker at work to remind him every day, like, don't kill.
Huh.
Well, then, apparently, he had the urge to kill again. It had been, like, 10 years or more.
Well, here I go killing
and he's
again.
like, well, shit, man, I really got to do it.
But yeah, I'd have to say St. Catherine, at the end of the day, skimming through all the research, I'm going to have to stick with Ted Bundy on this one. He is the template for all of the serial killers in the modern era.
I think I have to agree.
Because, like you said, when you start talking about serial killers, most of them instantly go to that template of Ted Bundy to see, let's do a comparison and see how they pan out amongst each other. Now, some have more kills, but Ted Bundy probably killed longer than a lot of serial killers. He went over, almost 2 decades? And
how many did he kill?
30,
he killed more than 100.
30 no, but they think it's over 100.
He admitted to 30.
Yeah, he admitted to 30.
But they think it's over 100.
They think it's over 100, which I don't know why he wouldn't admit to just doing it. Because, I mean, like, he was already in prison for life. He was going to get killed. He was executed in, I think, 1990 or 89 in the electric chair.
Yeah, 89.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's hard saying. But, like, they have to... Every comparison now has to be drawn up against him because I think he is the epitome of the modern serial killer. The one that most movies are based off of. Because a lot of serial killers in movies are charismatic individuals.
And most of the time when you hear serial killer, like, I think instantly Ted Bundy comes to mind.
Oh, definitely.
Like, you don't think about any of these other guys.
I think about Jeffrey Dahmer a lot.
Jeffrey Dahmer, yeah. But definitely, I think the most prolific one would be Ted Bundy.
Oh, yeah. He fits he more fits the archetype that we imagine when we see in films and stuff than any other serial killer. Because he's that charismatic young man.
Yeah.
Who, like, he was active in politics, and he was, like, a go-getter. Was in law school, all that shit. And killed women. Lots of women. But yeah, so thanks for that question, St. Catherine. Our next topic comes from a new giver of topics. A topicaire, as we call them. And he wanted to be called Dunstan. Like Dunstan checks in. Like the monkey.
Yeah.
And he simply asked us, I don't know why. I think it had to do maybe with our topic selection or my picture I posted, but he said, Twister, is it an A movie or a B movie? Now, I think that's a matter of perspective. I'm sure there are people out there that would say, man, Twister is my favorite movie ever. You're never going to catch me saying that. I would never say that. Is it okay? Is it a movie worth watching? Yes. Is it one of those movies that I watch at least once a year to refresh myself? Fuck no. It's probably been at least a decade since I watched Twister.
It's only got 3 stars on Rotten Tomatoes.
So and that's an aggregate score. So
yeah, you're right.
But I feel at the time it probably was considered an A movie because it had A-list stars in it. But in retrospect, it's definitely
one of those shows one of those movies that's like always on TV.
Yeah, and like if you look at the special effects now, they don't stand the test of time. And here's the thing: like, you're like, this was made in like '94. I don't care because look at Jurassic Park. That shit was made in like '92, and the graphics in that movie stand the test of time because they understood that you need a healthy mix of practical effects and CGI.
I just remember the cow like flying across the hood.
That cow is fake as fuck.
And then the semi, like the tanker flying across the road. Like, come on.
But here's the thing, like, and I had to think of it like this. Do you realize how many people were inspired to get into meteorological science because of that movie. Like, I think at the time, every kid wanted to suddenly be a storm chaser. Even though, like, listen, storm chasing is not that thrilling of a profession. You don't, like, I was reading this article in National Geographic last year, and this photography team from National Geographic followed around storm chasers for an entire season and did not see, until, like, the last day they were following them, did not see a single tornado until the second to last day.
So what you're saying is that movie fantasizes it.
Yeah.
It turns into, like,
this glamorous, like,
glamorous thing.
They're constantly chasing tornadoes. In reality, they rarely actually, like, capture tornadoes.
I guess they make it seem like there's a tornado and they can drive, like, 5 minutes down the road and there'll be another tornado.
Yeah, they more or less, like, they get to see the aftermath of tornadoes for the most part. Like, that's more or less where their study comes in. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, they do great work. But the thing is they glamorize that profession so much. And that, and, like, I think they romanticized it because they made them seem like they were modern renegades. And, like, and not only that, but there was also, like, there was the like, resistance movement of storm chasers, but then you remember there was the corporate ones, too?
Yeah.
And, like, they were, like, they have all the modern equipment, but they're like, they don't have the know-how to fucking chase storms right. They're going to get themselves...
They might have all the technology, but we've been doing it way longer.
We have the grit.
And the knowledge.
We have the grit, and we have the sense. We have that sixth sense about tornadoes that's going to allow us to, like, find them and track them. And, like, even why did the movie have to have villains? That's the thing. Like,
you have to always have a villain.
Not necessarily. Man. Think about The Martian. The Martian is a great movie and does not have a villain in it.
There had to be some sort of, like, protagonist.
Yeah, but every person, if you watch The Martian, every character is geared towards one thing, and that's saving him.
Yeah.
Not a single one of them's like, fuck him, we're leaving him there. Every one of them's like, somehow, some way, we want to get back to him.
But
right?
The villain was the plot itself.
Okay, yeah, the antagonist of the movie was surviving on Mars. But, see, the thing is, I
guess the antagonist of Twister could have been
the tornadoes.
Surviving tornadoes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But no, they had to include a fucking skeezy, nasty villain, not only just like beat them.
They look like used car salesmen too.
Yeah, that not only beat them to the punch, but also like stole their quote unquote technology for their own means and purposes. So I mean, I'm gonna have to say B movie, simply because at the time, I bet you when I was a little kid, that shit was awesome. Oh, I loved it. I ate that shit up. I probably watched that movie at least a dozen times when I was a kid. But now, I don't think you'd catch me watching it, even if I had a choice between that and The Wiz, I'd probably watch The Wiz.
Was there a Twister too?
Please tell me there was. No, I don't think there was. I hope there wasn't. That, and I think it was a point in time where the stars aligned, where suddenly Bill Paxton and Helen Hunt were leading man and leading lady material. It only happened once in a lifetime, and that was at Twister. Yeah. Because if you look at retrospect, those two, again, never happened as leading man and leading lady. They were just more or less, subjugated to smaller roles. Unless you think that one with Jack Nicholson in it, As Good as It Gets. She's the only other movie where she's, the leading lady in that movie. And I think she was on the up curve. Bill Paxton, he kind of rode out this nice, Eddie wave for years. He never, really ascended. He just kind of always, you would hit him in the up curve of his career, and then you would be like, whatever happened to Bill Paxton? And then you see him again a few years later or something.
Playing some small role somewhere.
Which I hate talking shit about Bill Paxton, because God rest his soul, he just died recently. I feel bad about talking shit about him, because don't get me wrong, Bill Paxton has delivered some of the greatest, little one-liners in movies I've ever seen. Fucking goddamn Aliens. At least once every few months, I say, "Game over, man. We're dead. It's over. Game over." But yeah, I mean, it was a cool movie then, but to this day, I really don't have nothing for it. And honestly, I thought it was directed by somebody else who does all the disaster flicks. I think it was Robert Zemeckis. I thought it was, but it's actually a guy named Jan de Bont, some French guy. And I was gonna hate on Robert Zemeckis for a little bit, but turns out he didn't direct it, so I can't hate on him. But anyways, so yeah, Twister, definitely a B movie now. It doesn't stand the test of time. You're not gonna see that shit on Turner Classic Movies one day, fucking 50 years down the road. Might. Oh man, then I'm gonna change it. I'm gonna change it to the channel that has The Wiz.
It's gonna probably be more on one of those regular TV channels like
It'll-
MeTV
You know
or
what's gonna be?
one of those like
It's gonna be on a disaster movie marathon.
yeah
That's
exactly.
exactly what's gonna be on. You're one day they're gonna have it with like fucking The Day After Tomorrow and fucking San Andreas and what's that one with John Cusack in it?
I don't know, man.
Okay, you know what? Everyone knows what I'm talking about. The movie with John Cusack where it's like the end of the world and all the volcanoes erupt and the oceans rise.
Oh,
And,
you're talking about
and they all have these like super arcs for the ultra rich to live
I
on.
can't remember the name of it.
But yeah, so like they'll just have a marathon of shitty disaster movies that you just watch all day. I'm probably not going to though. I'm gonna watch the Wiz marathon. I know I keep bringing up the Wiz, but I'm telling you, I
You
would
just have a thing for the Wiz.
No, I don't. That's the thing. I don't have a thing for the Wiz, but I'd rather watch the Wiz than watch Twister. I'd rather sit and watch fucking. You know what I'd rather watch? I'd rather watch Crybaby with Johnny Depp than watch fucking Twister over and over again. And trust me, I've sat and watched Crybaby a few times. I just don't want to watch Twister again, man. I'm sorry, like it eddied for me and it went away. It disappeared into the ether, and I don't want to watch it again.
It's always on TV though. I feel like it's always on cable somewhere.
But I mean that's true because it's probably really cheap to
Like
to
one
buy.
of those like TNN or TBS or one of those movies. One of those TNT.
Yeah.
Where they always
USA
play those shitty movies.
Yeah, USA Network definitely has
exactly.
that shit too. Like, I mean, I don't even have cable anymore, but it seems like you're right. Every time I turn on my TV, chances are it's either going to be Twister
And this, you know why? It's because it's a B movie.
or fucking, what's that one movie that has Chris Tucker and Jackie Chan in it? No, I'm trying to remember it. I almost said Red Dragon, but I was like, that's not it. I was like, that movie is definitely not called Red Dragon.
Rush Hour.
Rush Hour! Hey!
Yeah.
But, you see like Rush Hour and shit like that, which I think I actually watched Rush Hour. It's not that bad, but, but there's still like, sometimes they have good movies on, but it's just...
They're all B movies.
Yeah. I think it's one of those
So
things
I think
like,
it's safe to say that we can place Twister into the B movie category.
it's kind of like, give it like 10 more years, and I guarantee I could be talking about Titanic in the same vein. I feel like Titanic's just a little bit better of a movie, so it'll last a little longer. But ultimately, Titanic's going to end up in that category too. I mean, I'm already at the point where I think I'd rather watch.
She could have totally let him on that raft with her.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Selfish bitch.
That selfish bitch. He could have lived, and the story would have been that much better for it.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, some movies I'll never watch. Probably, I'll only, even if they're good, I'm only good for one viewing of them, just because of whatever reason. Sometimes it's because it's too long, or once you've seen it, like, what's the fucking point again? Like, kind of like The Revenant.
It was a good movie.
It's a good movie.
It was really long.
I'm never gonna watch it again. I'm gonna watch
Maybe
it
in
one
like
time.
10 years or something.
I'd have to be like on a flight or something and just be like, "This is the only."
It's one of those movies where like you already know what's going to happen.
Yeah,
So
exactly. You know he gets his revenge.
yeah,
So what's the?
it's just
fucking
so
point?
long and drawn out.
Yeah, and it's just watching someone get tortured for X amount of time becomes troublesome as well. You know what I mean? Like I don't. It's like I don't want to watch The Passion of the Christ again.
No.
I'd watch Braveheart again.
Oh,
Watch
yeah,
Braveheart a bunch
over
of
and over
times.
again.
Braveheart's a badass fucking movie. I'm not watching Passion of the Christ again because at least there's a heavy amount of exposition in Braveheart to lead you up to the torture scene. Passion of the Christ is literally just a torture movie.
It's like watching Ben-Hur over and over again.
Hey, Ben-Hur's not bad. You're talking about the original one, right?
It's a boring, long movie.
It's interesting. I find I don't know. I like Charlton Heston though. I've always had a soft spot for Charlton Heston. Like. Okay, a better movie of Charlton Heston that I would watch over and over again and have no problem doing it would be like Planet of the Apes or Omega Man. Have you ever seen Omega Man?
No.
Oh my god. Omega Man. Okay, it's based off of I Am Legend. Except it's not called I Am Legend, it's just called Omega Man, right? And it's like, it was made like in the late 60s and it's fucking amazing. You have like crazy ass fucking... like that synth music that they had back then where it's like and like you had like the zombies just had these really shitty makeup jobs and they were all just like pale faced.
They all kind of look like the zombies from the Thriller video.
Pretty much. And like, you had Charlton Heston just living up as like the last man on earth. Like he had his own movie theater and fucking had like a palace that he lived in that was like fortified to keep them out. I mean, Omega Man is a great movie that I think gets overlooked a lot of the time. Well, thank you, Dunstan, for that question. I hope we answered it for you. I hope we dived into that. And hey, check out The Wiz. You might actually, you might actually enjoy it. But okay, so on to our last question. This comes from another new contributor. She didn't have a name to give us, and that's okay because we come up with names. So I'm going to call her Jess James. Jess James, like Jesse James, except just Jess James, right? Okay. Jess James asks us, what wild predator could you take on and win against? I'm going to set the record straight here right now. I think any wild animal over 50 pounds is probably going to kill me, more or less.
Yeah.
Like, here's the thing. Wolf. Dead. Dead. Raccoon? I'll live. I might come out.
I've seen, like, accounts of people who, like, been attacked by raccoons, like rabid raccoons.
Yeah. But you're going to survive.
They're pretty vicious.
But you might not come out unscathed.
But you'll probably survive. You could kick that son of a bitch.
You could best it in a competition of might, right?
What about a Wolverine? It's probably over with.
I don't know. They have a really low level of the ground. They don't have any grappling abilities.
Yeah, but you also can't grab them.
That's true. You don't want to grab them. You don't. But at the end of the day, you could just stomp the shit out of it. You might lose a couple toes in the process, but you just...
Ultimately, you'll survive.
Yeah. I think anything that is fast and over 50 pounds is probably going to kill any normal human being. Because they're going to outmaneuver your ass real quick.
Imagine, like, getting attacked by a bear.
Yeah, bear's going to fuck you. You're dead. You're already dead.
It's over with, man.
Think of the grizzly man. He didn't live, and he was friends with them.
Right.
Fuck. I mean, even wolves. Like, okay, what's that movie? The Grey. You remember Liam Neeson in it? Now, there's a movie, it's kind of fucking stupid, but the ending was so goddamn badass that I was on the edge of my seat. Just because, like, he literally walked into that fucking wolf's den, and he's like, fuck, I'm dead. Alright. And fucking takes, like, a fucking knife and tapes the shit to his hand so he won't drop it, and then takes some fucking little, like, liquor bottles and fucking breaks them on rocks and tapes those to his hands, and he's like, come on, cocksucker. I'm fucking dying right now, but one of you's going with me. I'm fucking... And that's how, ultimately, a wolf fight would end up, I think, with me. As long as I had a weapon. If I didn't have any weapon, I'm dead.
I watched this documentary about this guy who lived with wolves for a while.
Yeah.
And in order for him to live with the wolves, he had to become the dominant male in their group.
He had to take on the alpha male.
He had to take on the alpha male. Right? And it worked.
How did he fight off the alpha
male? I don't know what happened exactly. Right?
Yeah.
But he ended up living with these wolves for a while, but then he had to go, be a human again for a while.
Yeah.
And when he came back, there was another dominant male from, like, a neighboring, pack, from a neighboring pack that had, like, came into that pack that he was, like, the dominant male in. Well, now there was a new dominant male. And the other ones, like, looked at him like he was somebody because he was a dominant male at one point in time.
Yeah.
But now there was this new dominant male, and it tried to kill him. And I guess he just, decided not to go on with the experiment anymore because there was no way he could fight that long.
Yeah. Well, it's like, perfect example of when I talk about the 50-pound mark. Look at baboons. Baboons will fucking kill you.
Yeah.
And they'll not think twice about it. They got big-ass teeth, and they're mean as fuck.
They have those large snouts.
Yeah.
Not because... like dogs have large snouts to house their
olfactory sensors.
Yeah, but baboons have large snouts to house gigantic teeth that can bite your head off.
Yeah, pretty much. Like one bite and you're good to go. I mean, same thing goes with chimps. I mean, we've all seen this played out in the Planet of the Apes movies, but there's been actual instances of chimps just fucking humans up beyond belief.
Oh yeah,
like they go for those tender vittles first. They go for the fingers.
They're killers.
Fingers, genitals, and face, because they don't want you having the ability to grab them, because they know that you as a primate are only as powerful as your ability to grapple, right? So in that respect, we're stronger than them because we have more dexterity in our hands than they do,
right?
So we have better grappling ability. But if they can take that away, then we're toast. We can't fight back anymore. So then they go for the next possibility of attack, which is your teeth and your face. So they fucking rip that shit off. So you can't fucking bite. You can't grab. You can't bite. The only thing you have left to your disposal is fucking. So what do? They fucking bite your fucking dick off.
It's like that. Wasn't there some woman a few years ago that... Did she have a chimp?
Yeah, dude.
And she got attacked. Like he had like It was her pet?
It was her pet, and she was like feeding it.
Attacked her like on the streets?
Well, no, she was at her home, and she was feeding it liquor, like treating it like a human.
Right on.
And it went fucking crazy. And like I remember, I was watching a show about it, and I guess the ape went crazy and attacked her. And then they have an excerpt from a 911 call from her friend. Her friend had come over to check on her, and you could hear in the 911 call, she's like, "This fucking chimp, he's trying to kill me!" And you hear the chimp in the background like, and fucking this chimp ripped the fucking car door off the car, like fucking busted the window out, ripped the fucking car off,
Jesus.
went and grabbed her. The cops come, fucking shot the goddamn thing a dozen times before it went down.
It's a lot of hate.
Yeah,
Fueling it.
A lot of rage.
Yeah.
That I don't want to be a part of. So, if you want to know what predator I could take on, a raccoon, squirrel, coyote, one-on-one.
I don't think coyotes are going to try to fight you, though.
Let's say in a
They're
hypothetical.
not really predators. They're more like scavengers.
But let's say in a hypothetical, a
If
coyote.
you came across like a rabid coyote that was
Yeah.
trying to fight you, I think you could just, I mean, it's like a dog.
It's
like
a little.
mean dog.
It's like a little dog. Not little, but it's
You might get injured in the process, but you're not going to die, I don't think.
no. So a coyote.
Ultimately,
yes.
you win.
A deer.
I wouldn't really classify them as a predator.
But we're talking. Okay, we're not talking about average run away from you shit. We're talking. Say this deer has a vendetta against you. You killed its mother. This is Bambi. Bambi has come for you. He's come for you now. It's time to die. One of you is going to die. Who's it going to be? Is it going to be you? Or is it going to be Bambi?
It's got to be Bambi.
You think you can take on Bambi?
Yeah.
That's true. I mean, like, here's the thing. Their antlers are their best defense. And if you fucking grab onto those fuckers, you got to control their head.
I'm sure they can still get you.
They got that, like, charging ability.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That we lack.
You could run.
Yeah. You could run, but I think a deer would outrun you.
I think a deer can outrun you, but you have more stamina.
Okay, that's true.
So if you could outrun it and dodge it long enough,
And then
eventually you would wear stamina down and you could just turn around and snap.
as I say, yeah, pull like a Arnold Schwarzenegger maneuver. Like when they think they finally got you, you're like covered in mud and you just come out of nowhere like. I mean, yeah, that would work. Wolf 1-on-1.
No way, man.
Because I've already disregarded Wolf Pack. Wolf Pack got
Not gonna happen.
They got you. They got you. But
And
Wolf,
they're really smart too.
Wolf
So even if you
one-on-one.
do try to get away, like there's gonna be another one waiting around that corner
exactly.
to chase you back into their trap that they set for you.
So you're never going to have a wolf 1-on-1. But if you did, I still don't think I'd win. I think I'd lose. I've seen how big a full-grown, like, male timber wolf is.
Huge.
They're fucking gigantic.
Yeah.
Like, I have a rule about dogs not having a dog over 50 pounds, just in case. So, I mean, timber wolf's going to get me. So
1-on-1 with nothing
I mean, what about a snake? You think like a boa constrictor? You could take that on, right?
until you get bit.
Till you get, well, they don't have poison.
Which ones have poison?
Like rattlesnakes and shit like that.
What about the ones with like the flaps that come out of their head?
Oh, you're like a cobra?
Oh yeah, cobras.
Cobra is poisonous, so.
So
But the thing is, they're not constrictors. I'm not worried about the venomous ones. They can't eat you. They're not big enough to eat you. I'm worried about the ones that are constrictors that can eat a human, like a boa constrictor or a fucking anaconda. Like
This could be another one of those disaster movies.
they kill kids all the time, right? They kill like kids and sometimes even drunk adults. So I don't know. I think it depends on what I'm armed with. If I'm armed, like with like a machete, it's over with.
Well, that's the thing though. Like that's why we're at the top of the food chain. Not because we can fight them off,
But we have tools.
but because we can use tools.
We're the crafty ones.
Yeah.
We like crafting things that dispense pain.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think a boa constrictor, as long as you have a weapon and you weren't drunk. I think if you were sober, you could still fight one off.
I think even with a weapon, you'd be fucked with a wolf or a bear.
Oh yeah, oh big time. Because like,
I mean, people say like, "I'll just take your gun with me into the woods." Like, you're just gonna piss it off.
more or less, yeah. Unless it's a really big gun, but even then, you're running the gambit of
It going down in one hit and you being able to pull that trigger
Exactly.
a second, third, or fourth time, and
Yeah.
also hit it with all that adrenaline running through you.
tiger.
They eat people in India like
all
all
the
the time, man.
Same thing with lions. Not gonna happen. So I'd say just James. The biggest animal I think I could take on and win against is probably a boa constrictor. It's only because they don't have any grappling ability and they're fairly slow. They're not quick fellows.
I hate snakes.
They have teeth, but
I wouldn't want to even like touch it. But I guess if I had to,
I would fucking pluck its beady little fucking eyes out. If it's gonna fucking kill, if I don't have a chance and it's gonna kill me, I'm fucking taking something with me.
How big is that mouth open?
Oh, huge. They eat deers and shit. So, on that factor, they got you. You're going to get eaten. Turn into snake poop.
Ugh, it's over.
But I mean, like anything, like deer I think is as big as it gets for me to be able to say, okay, I could take this on and win. Anything bigger, like a moose or an elk or anything like that, not going to happen. Any big cats? No, not going to happen. A cougar's going to get you. Bobcat?
They're pretty elusive.
They're elusive and fast.
I have a hard time fighting my house cat sometimes.
For real. As I say, yeah. Sometimes, like, if it's me or them, sometimes I don't know. But I mean, like I said, I know we've kind of left this one open-ended, but I'd say deer, raccoon, squirrel, coyote. Those are the things I could win.
Non-large predators.
Non-large predators. You know, maybe wolverine, badger. God damn, you imagine a honey badger? Like, what if someone's like, I will give you $50,000 to go kill that honey badger. Would you take the money? With your bare hands?
No.
No, man, because you're not going to...
cool.
You're not going to come out
cool,
of that
bro.
unscathed. That fucker's going to take some digits with it. It's going to take something with it. It's not going to let you... It's not going to let you go get by without taking some things with it.
Right. It's like trying to fight a monstrosity.
Exactly.
It's not going to happen.
Did a chum? Yeah. Well, thanks, Jess James, for the question. We'd like to thank you guys for listening to the show this week. Hopefully Bones will be back maybe next week or maybe the week after. Like I said, he's got some family stuff going on. So thank you for listening. Hey, check out the website. It's fully up, and we're on iTunes, mind you. So when you look at this episode, you go to iTunes, subscribe to it, listen to it on your phone. We're also on BeyondPod, another podcatcher for Android phones. Check us out on Facebook. Send us topics. We love the topics. We got like 3 topics this week that we didn't even ask for. They just sent them to us, and that's fucking awesome. I love that. So send us more topics. We love them. We want new listeners to send us topics. Don't be afraid. We'll talk about anything. Fuck, we talked about everything from fucking wild animals to fucking Richard Simmons today. Fuck. Okay, so thanks for listening, and we'll hope to see you guys next time. We love you.
We love you.
Doors closing.
mark has been made. Your short memory